Iron Gwazi is a new RMC Hyper Hybrid coaster I had the chance to ride for pass holder previews. It's my #1 roller coaster I've currently ridden at the time this video is being made, and today I'm ranking and giving a review of every single element on the ride. This is so you know what to expect on every single element. There are 13 that I counted, you can argue 12, but I separated the 2 hills of the double down. I don't think it matters either way, and you'll see why very soon. Before we get into it, make sure you like and share the video because it really helps out. Alright, let's get into the list. Number 13 is the first hill of the double down. You pop up a little bit before you do come back down. This element does absolutely nothing though going up, so I can't really say much about it. Number 12 is the pre-lift. This doesn't do much in the front row, but in the back row, you'll get jolted into your seat a little bit with the head chopper above you. It's not the most comfortable, I'd say, but it's not uncomfortable either, and it prepares you for what's to come. It gives a slight teaser, which is what some of these RMCs do. You pretty much just get thrusted forwards into your restraint. I do prefer the pre-lifts on Twisted Cyclone and Steel Vengeance. However, this is a nice mini drop that really doesn't do much other than giving you a thrust into your seat. Number 11 is the 0G stall. This is a really tough element to review. The stall itself is so short, it's not anything crazy, but the pull out on it is pretty good. It gives you some good laterals, which this ride does from time to time throughout its layout. This element certainly isn't an exception. It does this better in some rows than others. It's whippier in the back. I do prefer this element on the left side, which isn't usually the case for this ride, but it is for this element because you get a little bit more pull. Number 10 is the second wave turn. This element really warmed up throughout the day, and I found it better in the back row. It really pulls you back there. In the front, you float through it, and it's fun, but just not as much fun as the back. It feels similar to the wave turns found in the structure on Steel Vengeance, so if you've ridden Steve, you probably know what it feels like already. I loved the mini wave turns, honestly. I don't know why, but they're just some of my favorite small elements out there, and I enjoy them every time. This one is no exception. Number 9 is the hill after the wave turn. I'd say this is the weakest true airtime hill on the ride because the pre-lift and first hill of double down don't really count. This is pretty strong, it's just that for an RMC it isn't too special. Now if it was on any other RMC it would be a lot better, but when you're on this ride it just doesn't stand out. Number 8 is the Outer Bank. This Outer Bank or Steve's Outer Bank? What's my verdict? I do prefer the Outer Bank on Steel Vengeance more. The one on Iron Gwazi is absolutely fantastic, however, it's far from one of the highlights on the ride. You get some decent ejector on it and a nice lateral jolt to the left, but it's not as sustained as Steve's, and it feels more unnatural with that jolt. It's not the most comfortable jolt. I know a lot of people would like that, but for me, the one on Steel Vengeance seems more natural. It just flows through it way better, while still having that level of airtime, and it is more sustained. Still though, Iron Gwazi's isn't one to look past. It's a fantastic element, but again, it gets overshadowed by the rest of the elements this ride has to offer. Number 7 is the second hill of the double down. The second hill is always the strongest hill of the double down. It's what makes double down so good. You don't get very much airtime going up into it like I said before, but coming down the second hill of that double down gives you some pretty strong airtime. It's definitely as strong as most RMC airtime hills. I'd say it's better than most, which is really good. And this is close to being my 6th favorite element on the ride, but I'm going to give this slight advantage to Number 6 is the hill after the 0G stall. This hill rises up right before going through the double down. I thought this would feel awkward on the ride because of how it's shaped, but it's actually a really awesome element. Very strong, even for an RMC. This is fantastic in every single row, which is nice. It's not as strong as the hills on Twisted Cyclone, for example, but it's very good. And that's one thing I want to mention, is that this ride does kind of feel like a really big and faster paced Twisted Cyclone, which was very interesting. Number 5 is the cutback. Some say this is an overbank, some say this is a cutback. It's more inverted than not, and I consider it an inversion. I say it's a cutback. Cutback itself is very forceful, I enjoyed it, but the pull out is where it really shines, giving you a nice pop of weak ejector airtime with a little bit of laterals. That mix coming out of the cutback is a weird feeling, but an awesome one. I was happy with it. It was better than I was expecting. Number 4 is the final drop. This element is awesome because it gives great ejector airtime at a fast speed into the brake run. It ends the ride off with a bang. It was even good in the front, which is surprising. Definitely way better in the back though, getting whipped over that hill. You get a nice head chopper as well, and my shirt went flying every single time on this element. I just couldn't keep it up. Really, it wouldn't from the end of the 0G stall. But this is that one moment where it just flew up, exposing my entire backside and front side. It was a nice breeze. That's all I'll say about that. At number 3 is the death roll. One of the most hyped up inversions of all time. The death roll is just a barrel roll down drop, which you find as the first drops for Twisted Timbers, Storm Chaser, and Medusa Steel Coaster. This is taken at a much faster speed though, causing you to get whipped hard into the side of your seat, especially in the second half and pull out of the element. You don't get too much airtime, and the first half of the element isn't that great, but it's definitely mesmerizing. It provides a really good head chopper actually, and I wouldn't say it disappointed me. It was really good. It's up there for me for inversions, but I still wouldn't say it's a top 5 inversion for me. Maybe top 15, which is still fantastic, and this element truly is fantastic. And actually talking about this element a little bit more, it's really giving me flashbacks. I gotta say it's a top 10 inversion. I could see where you think it's a top 5 inversion because it really is awesome. The second half of it is just incredible. But yeah, moving on to number 2. Coming in at number 2, we have the first drop. It's about equal with Steel Vengeance for me. It does feel steeper, which is interesting as it's only 1 degree steeper, but Steel Vengeance has more whip on it. That is my favorite element on Steve, which I'll talk about in the future. But this ride's first drop does give some slight butterflies. Nothing insane, but pretty solid. The head chopper at the end of Iron Gwazi is really good. I'll say it's too hyped up at night. I thought it was just as good during the day, but that's just me. I did have thigh aches at that point, so maybe that had to do with it not being better. But overall, it's a fantastic first drop. I absolutely loved it. And if you get 5 inches of room, which you can get every time if you want to, unless you're a bigger rider, I recommend holding up your restraint with one arm and have your other arm up in the air. Also, with a loose seatbelt, it adds to the insanity. It actually feels dangerous. It feels like death. You could hear some enthusiasts undoing their seatbelts. I don't recommend unbuckling it, but I mean, whatever. It's just an awesome drop. If I had to choose, I would give the very slight edge to this drop over Steve's for the fact that when you have more room, it just feels way too insane. And at number 1 is the wave turn. I expected this to be my favorite moment of the ride coming in, and it delivered. It delivered 2 seconds of some of the strongest ejector airtime I've ever felt on a coaster. And let me just remind you that you're going sideways. You're being held sideways for a couple seconds at a really fast pace while experiencing some absolutely insane ejector. And at the end comes a head chopper that's sure to throw you off guard if you aren't expecting it. I've seen it happen to so many people. That hasn't happened to me since I've expected it every time, but I have seen it from other people. One criticism I have is you can't really see anything on it besides the top of the station. I do wish you could be staring right at the pathway. You do see some of the pathway, but it's a little distant. Nothing to do with the actual element, but I do wish you could have a better view of the pathway. Also, I do prefer Gwazi on the right side, but this element I do prefer on the left. So overall, I usually like the ride better on the right side. But if you want to experience this element at its full potential, I'd recommend the left. Alright, that's going to wrap up this video. This coaster is insane. It has my favorite layout out of any other coaster. Every element is just fantastic. It has all the different types of elements you want. Great mix, great variety. This is very cliche, but there's nothing else to say but go ride it for yourself. It's the only way you're truly going to know how good the ride is. Thank you for watching. Share the video. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you later.